this video, I'm going to interview Professor Tobias Banaszewski on a very current topic, which is screen time and ADHD. Hi, Tobias.
Hi, Martin. Thank you. Nice talking with you about this important topic. Now, that's a very popular concern. Now that we are moving towards the age of digitalization, and it's particularly a concern for parents of children with ADHD, as these children do tend to have a longer screen time than children without ADHD. However, there are not really good epidemiological data to study the difference accounted for by having a diagnosis of ADHD. And screen time is, of course, a broad term. You can sit in front of the screen of your computer and play video games. This is something which boys tend to do more than girls, while girls, on the other hand, tend to be in social media during their screen time as well, much more than boys, and are not so much engaged in video gaming.
Okay, so that's interesting, Tobias. What you're saying is that research is still rather young on the topic of increased screen time and ADHD. Still, we can see that video games more likely for boys and social media use more likely for girls. So is there, an age issue here with children, adolescents, and adults? Do you feel that we should be, perhaps as parents, starting to check up or have some mechanisms to protect children?
For sure. There are multiple let's call it problems involved if children are in front of or if they are in the internet, and parents should be aware of this. So there is not just, and let me start with issues that they may miss out if they are in front of the screen. They may miss out the development of other important hobbies or skills, like being sportive, spending their time out of home together with in face-to-face meetings with other children or adolescents. They may forget about their homework. They may not be as much engaged in reading books, etc., which can all be considered to be important activities that children and adolescents do in order to develop social relationships, but also if they become more engaged with the world and their view of the world. So there are possibilities that are left out if they do too much of a computer. Of course, we are living in times when a certain knowledge of computers, but also the digital world, is something that we cannot forget. It all depends upon the adequate dosage. Now, there are also risks when children and adolescents are engaged in front of their computer. Some of, very few, but some young youth who are more isolated will shift into a parallel world. We've seen this, which is a risk factor, not for all, but for some. Some may visit websites that are not appropriate according to their age, be it to pornography, be it that they get in contact with individuals who are keen to get in close contact with children, so sexual abusive behavior from adults to children or the adolescents may occur. There are also risks that you may buy things simple which are not which are pretty easy to get via the internet, which is not good. So, but you can also learn from the internet. A major field in which children and adolescents are engaged is social media like Twitter and Facebook, etc. And as we are all aware of, the internet doesn't forget, so it's probably not a good idea to put your photographs up that show you when you are, let's say, on a party and drunken, and a few years later, your employee will check the internet. So these are all issues that adolescents need to know or will learn or experience. But there is also this issue of cyberbullying, or that young patients some of them are more concerned about their digital identities than about what they really are. So they come up with faked photos and finally find it difficult if there is a difference between what they really look like and what they have created in the internet. So multiple problems, also chances when using the internet. So parents should be aware to educate their children in the use of internet. And by educating, this means, of course, that screen time should not be extensive and should be a little bit tuned towards age and intellectual competences, and it depends on what people do if they sit in front of their laptop.
Yeah, oh, that's really useful. So perhaps to recapitulate, it's very interesting how you mentioned, first of all, that increased screen time, well, they make for less time in learning other things that are learned in the social world. And also that increased screen time comes with a host of risks that are of various nature and that require indeed some kind of monitoring, but also education from the part of the parents. And so that's really useful. Now, let's say, Tobias, that one is an individual that wants to do something about watching the screen too much. What would be kind of your advice to that individual who wants to start, decreasing the screen time and perhaps do something else? How do you approach that?
We do see patients who themselves have not got the motivation to reduce their screen time and who are engaged in video gaming and increase and have and clearly lack the control over their activities. And parents want to reduce the screen time or shut down the internet at home, and this frequently results in major troubles and conflicts between parents and children. So the best thing is to work together to find a motivation to first of all start to get a motivation to reduce the screen time if it gets out of control. And if we are there, then it's and the individual, him or herself, is already motivated to reduce screen time. Most has already happened. I think there are still there can be still obstacles like that I'm torn towards a video game because I'm a little bit addictive to this video game. I don't think that people are really become as so-called addictive to social media activities. If it's about social media, a good strategy is to rather meet with friends in real life. Mm-hmm. And be less concerned about what's happening there. And so it's strategies to talk the issues, fears and anxieties that they may miss something out over with the children or adolescents, and try to support them in with other strategies. A lot is about building up a self-esteem, building up other hobbies, and then the time they spend in front of the screen will decrease. It's a little bit another issue if there is a particular game and they are torn towards this game, then I would really recommend stop for a certain period of time. Then the motivation to re-engage again will decrease. But from my perspective, the most difficult part is to increase an problem awareness for the child or the adolescents. Now, with children, it's more easy because parents may more easily regulate the screen time or negotiate with the children to cut it off. But the older the children become, the more they are adolescents and on their own and with their own mobile, the more difficult it is to really to control what they are doing. Still, monitoring is required, and I think that a good relationship between parents and children may help to talk these issues over, and this is a starting point. And if it doesn't turn out that they can do it on their own, there's always it may always be a good choice to see a professional psychotherapist or child psychiatrist to talk over which specific personal features, be it comorbidities, be it like anxiety, or depression or ADHD may be accompanied with this problematic internet use, and how you can tackle these issues. So people who are depressed and do avoid socially phobic, then these problems need to be addressed, and then the screen time will be reduced. Or in case of ADHD, proper treatment with, for example, stimulants may also help the individual to have a greater degree of freedom in their behavior, and to become really agents of their personal life. So it's about a bunch of different strategies that can need to be tailored to the individual. There is no one-size-fits-all strategy.
Yeah, that's really, I think, a very good point. Well, you're making a lot of points, Tobias. First of all, very interesting point on motivation. That is probably one of the most central topics to, building that motivation for the individual to actually change behavior. And then also you've talked about how an individual that then is going there will have more success, but also perhaps at a certain point, if different strategies don't work, professionals are there, and the question of, you know, not only screen time, but also comorbid difficulties, and perhaps the larger kind of multimodal treatments, including medication, can really help incur change. That's really interesting.
And as said, maybe just to add, it's always important what people do. If they, you know, if they study Wikipedia to prepare their homework, it's a different issue than if they are engaged in just ego shooter games.
Yeah. If they're involved in more educative things, it's very different than if it's reward seeking, if as you mentioned. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Tobias, for this very interesting overview. I think there's going to be more research on this topic. I'm sure you might be involved as well in this research, so we're looking forward to learning more about screen time and ADHD, and how to make the screens, which are part of our reality, more integrated in global development. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Martin.